So if you were viewing this channel a year ago, you will remember the day that I had announced that I was going to start the lawnmower repair hobby business. And the reason I started it up was two reasons, actually. One, I've always wanted to run a lawnmower repair business. As a matter of fact, before Carolyn and I started traveling, we were trying to figure out how to get out of my full-time employment job. And one of the thoughts was, hey, let's start a lawnmower repair business. And I think we were close to actually doing it. Of course, then, the second plan was to travel in a camper. And so that's what we ended up doing, starting a YouTube channel and traveling. One of the things about YouTube that a lot of people, trolls or whoever, complain about is, all you do is rely on YouTube money. What if something happens to YouTube? You're gonna not have any money. Well, let's think about this for a minute. YouTube is a job that pays a wage, and if something happens to YouTube, then I've been fired from my job. So what's different between YouTube and any other job? I mean, the last job I worked at, I was at risk of getting fired every day. Well, that's not true. Every Friday. Every Friday, this is how bad the job was. I always planned on staying until at least 5 p.m. That way my bosses would have an opportunity to fire me if that's what the plan was. It was always on Friday they fired people. There's no difference. So YouTube was a good option for us. And the nice thing about YouTube was that it slowly grew and got us to here, actually. Strange things I find in this yard all the time. I wonder what that is. So I've been really appreciative of how well YouTube worked for us. We've been at it for 8 years, and it started to slow down last year pretty significantly and hasn't really picked up much steam at all. And that's fine. It doesn't matter. But I had to figure out something else to do. And I wanted to do something where I could still stay on the property, sell chicken eggs or something. And the option was, well, why don't we go back to doing the lawnmower repair business? So in June, we kind of sent out our first Facebook group advertisement, fixing lawnmowers. And within, I don't know, a couple days, we were just swamped with work. So it wasn't really much of a plan other than, hey, let's try this, see what bites. It was just like, let's go fishing and see. And it did really well. We stayed busy clear through, September? Now, I will admit, and we always expected that it would slow down this time. So I don't have any work right now. But I will say that I did have work up to the week before Christmas. At least a little bit of work. So I've been pretty happy with the success of it. That in combination with YouTube. We don't charge a lot for the lawnmower repair business per hour. We only charge about a quarter of what competitors, in the big towns charge. So that encourages folks around here to come here, even though I don't have a shed and all that. Instead of driving their lawnmower, to these big towns, 20, 30 miles away, and spending more money over there. And it worked. That was about the best plan that we came up with in such a short amount of time. Then we have YouTube. So if I take YouTube money and lawnmower repair business money, and we put it together per day, we're actually making about the same amount that we were making a couple years ago on YouTube when things were pretty good. Now, of course, like I said, the season slowed down, so we got to take that into consideration when it comes to the daily wage. But maybe next year it'll speed it back up, and the business will last longer throughout the year. If not, that's fine too. I know a lot of these repair shops will do four-wheelers and ATVs and all that stuff. I'm not going to do that, which is probably what my problem is why I can't get business this time of the year. But as a result of rushing in so fast, which we knew we were going to be able to identify problems that came up, trying to just make some money as quickly as possible. And of course, we did run into some problems. Customers, one thing I heard on the YouTube video is customers are never right in this business. They always say customers right. So they come over and they say, yeah, the carburetor doesn't work, or the spark plug's bad and I need you to fix it. And it turns out there's no compression. And so when you tell them that, they are upset that it's not what they thought it was. And sometimes they'll argue with you. I remember this one guy showed up with a weed eater. I did a compression test. It was at 60 pounds or something. I mean, it was real low. And you shouldn't even work on a weed eater if it's below 100 pounds. And I took a picture of the compression and sent it to him. And said, I can fix this, but it's a, it was a cheap weed eater. So I sent a picture of the gauge that said 60 pounds. And he argued with me. There's no way that compression's bad. I use 2-cycle oil and, whatever. So he comes and picks it up and says, I guess I'm just gonna have to fix this myself. Okay, then fix it yourself. You put starting fluid in it, it should start. If it doesn't, then it's spark or compression. If it has spark, then you know it's compression. Yeah, it was just this attitude that people didn't like the diagnosis. Like I said, I could have fixed it, but do you really want to replace an engine on a $100 weed eater? No, probably not. Again, customer's not always right. That was just my example. The other thing I've been trying to do is sell lawnmowers. And I found out that was a mistake. So the first lawnmower I sold, someone gave to me totally free. So I was able to put quite a bit of money into it to flip it, to get it running and sell it. And I was really proud of that mower. It sold from another town. Sold from a town that people don't know me as a business owner. So, I thought that was great. Hey, there's some extra money in this. This is, when things are slow, I can rebuild these lawnmowers. So when things started slowing down, I started buying lawnmowers real cheap off Facebook Marketplace, and I started flipping them. And I quickly realized that if people are going to buy lawnmowers from me who live in this town, they're going to expect it to have all kinds of warranties and guarantees and 30 days. And even if you write as is, they don't care. There's an expectation. And I've talked about this quite a bit on my YouTube channel. There's no way around it. You can say as is all day, but if it takes one person to complain in one of these Facebook groups, and you see these complaints all the time, don't do business with this company, they're terrible. That's bad reputation. And I don't really want a bad reputation. If you're selling something and it breaks on them, and you did an as is, and they say, hey, this thing's not running, what are you gonna do? It can't be as is. You have to fix it. You absolutely have to. So I've decided I'm not going to sell lawnmowers. Now, if someone gives me a lawnmower, I'm not going to buy and flip them and resell them because it just costs too much money. But if someone gives me a lawnmower and I put money into it, all I really got to do is make my money back. So if it needs a new carburetor, a new spindle, let's say I put $100 into it, I can sell this lawnmower for $100 and I can put as is. They run it for a week and it dies, and they say, hey, you need to fix this. I'm gonna say, come on, man, it was $100, $150. Let's say I wanted to make 50 bucks off of it. It was $150. There was no guarantees on that. That was kind of, I can even say that up front. With this being a $150 more, there's absolutely no warranties, and you're buying at risk. And I would expect that you're not gonna post it on Facebook that if you buy this and something happens to it, that I'm a ripoff. It's $150. Bring it back to me, I'll fix it, and I'll charge you my labor. So as I've been saying recently, I've been watching these YouTube videos of other lawnmower repair shops, and they're pretty good. I have a disagreement with him about OEM product, to the point that I'm almost getting frustrated listening to him say it. But I've made several videos about that. I always tell them this price is for aftermarket. And then if they come back and say, no, I don't want aftermarket, then I'll say, well, I'll try to get you a price for OEM. But one of the things that one of the YouTubers said to me in their video was, you got to be able to read your customers. Of course, he's the one that also said the customer's never right. There's no reason to even listen to him. You take in a shop, you do your diagnostic, and you tell them what they got. But he said you got to read your customers. And he was talking about selling a lawnmower, and this guy comes in with his chest all puffed out. I'm pretending like I'm him. And he says, I'm abusive on mowers. I need something that can take my abuse. What you got? And the YouTuber said, I don't have anything like that. You'll have to go someplace else to buy it. So he turned down the business because he knew that this customer was just going to be a pain. And he's explaining this story while he is working on a machine that he had to buy back. So he sold this Cub Cadet. And with Cub Cadet, the blades are timed. So one blade is pointing this way when you time it. So let's just call that north and south. The other blade has to be east and west. If they are both north and south, or both are east or west or whatever, when they come around, they'll hit each other. So they got to be timed that way. Well, if you hit a stump and it turns the belt, stops the belt for a second, and then the blades become untimed, and then the blades start hitting each other. So he sells this Cub Cadet, in 2 years, this guy has returned this lawnmower several times in the 2 years that he had it, because he keeps hitting something. Of course, the YouTuber says, I keep telling him he can't hit anything, but he keeps coming back. One time I repaired it, he said, and retimed it, put a new belt on it. And see, the YouTuber is going out all the cost on this, because again, he doesn't want to ruin his reputation. So he said, one time I repaired it, and he brought it right back the same day with the same problem. And he takes the belt off this Cub Cadet, and it is burned so bad that there's just, it's all charred up. You can see the charring, but it's just a little thin piece of belt left. It just sat there and burned. Now the guy brings it back and says, this mower's smoking. Well, it wasn't smoking, it was the belts were smoking because he hit something. And the blades ended up, jammed up on each other. So he buys the mower back. After 2 years, he buys this mower back and sells him a different mower. Well, I'm not in a position to do that. I'm not going to do it. So I haven't been selling mowers, but I am going to start thinking about the jobs I'm taking. And some of these YouTubers, I mean, if you listen to all of them and you implement all their procedures, all 3 of them, 4 of them, whatever I watch, I guess it's 4 of them, you never work on any of them, ever. You never work on anything. One says they don't work on anything over 15 years old. Well, that excludes this whole entire neighborhood. And then another one says he doesn't work on chainsaws or 2-cycle engines anymore, because once he puts his money into it, his labor and the OEM parts, then it's not worth it anymore. And I've never seen him work on a 2-cycle engine for a customer. Now, he has rebuilt some for himself on his channel, but he's never worked on them for a customer. And then another one says you got to document everything you do. If somebody gives you a mower, make them sign paperwork. And then don't sell that mower in town. Take it out of town to sell it. Because they get wind that you're selling their mower. Well, you said it didn't run. That's not what he said. What he said was, it's not worth fixing. But it's worth fixing for yourself? But actually it is, because if he repaired it for $400 and he sells it for $400, then he's made his labor costs back and everything. But If he's going to sell it to you for $400, you're going to say it's not worth it, I'll just buy a new one. Anyway, he has to document he doesn't sell in town. I mean, there's just all these rules and criterias that you got to follow. But I think the best one was just pay attention to your customer. If they come in thumping their chest and they know everything, you're going to say, well, maybe I can't help you. The other one you got to be careful of, and I've already experienced this, is if somebody else has already worked on it, you may not want to work on it. I got a generator a while back somebody else worked on, and it was just shot. He said there was one thing wrong with it, but everything was wrong with the battery, the starter, everything. So I mean, I told him it's no good. I mean, I can fix it, but it'd be cheaper to get yourself a new generator. And I wasn't even talking about labor costs. I was just talking about parts. So I didn't charge him anything for that, tearing it all down, looking at all the problems. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was working on something. So hope I can inspire you to work through your problems so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.